Welcome to Check It Out with Jessica Lee. I'm here with the VP of Product Marketing at VMware, Muneeb Munhazuddin. How are you?
I'm good, thanks, Jessica. How are you? Thanks for having me on your show.
Yeah, welcome to the show. So excited to hear about your career journey, because I know you came from engineering to becoming a business leader. So that's a fantastic journey to share.
Thank you.
And then talk about the market changes and some of the changes that you're experiencing and how to handle the whole cycle or the journey for the buyer journey from your point of view of product marketing.
Sure. Again, excited to be here. The market's been changing quite, rapidly, right? I think where technology is one of the big disruptors that everybody is embracing and trying to transform business to leverage technology. And that has made a lot of shifts, right? The traditional way you've done, build product and take it into market, doing sales, doing marketing is shifting rapidly, because in the past you used to build things and they used to take several months or even years to come out to the market, and you had plenty of time to build your go-to-market. Today, stuff comes out every week. So that has an interesting dynamic on how you need to kind of build a product. How do you get it to market? How do you educate the people? How do you, do marketing around it and educate your audiences or buying? And the buyer is also changing, right? So this is where technology in the past used to be a very, siloed decision, and support system for the businesses doing their thing, and they need, IT and technology to look after what they're doing, and that worked. And IT used to make their own decision and then say to business, "Hey, run your business, but you got to design your applications and everything for this infrastructure," right?
Okay.
So where that's changed is today, businesses are leveraging technology to be successful. They're transforming themselves because of how technology is embedded into what they do. This is how, new technology, cloud, mobile, and the implications of that is how do you secure this? All that coming along because you use these pervasive technologies that are very easily accessible to everyone to then become more disruptive in your business.
Right.
And that's primary is technology. So technology's gone from a support system to be very much, ingrained into how do you do business.
Yeah, I think technology enables new revenue stream that wasn't able to do before without the technology.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And then if you take all that market shift dynamics and transformation that everybody's doing, how do you create product? How do you take that to a market? How do you kind of then, advertise it and then also get people to buy into it? That has changed quite a bit is, again, you got development in the past, it's done separately, and then you go to market, and then you have people come back and give feedback on products. Today, you have to do very agile. So it's like, hey, okay, I'm going to build a minimum viable product. I'm going to get the idea out there. Solicit feedback from customers and improvise, but I'm already gathering a lot of customer momentum before I go big, and then I scale it, right? So I think that's a very different approach. You got to have weekly updates of your services coming out. It's not a fixed product. Then educating people. How do you keep up with weekly releases of product? How do you then sell and market it? So that shifts too, because you can't do long-term capabilities. You have to be very smart. And again, because of this shift, the way people are buying is also changing. It's not one buyer per se who used to make these decisions. It's a business decision. So you have to kind of step back and go, oh my God, there's so much change. I can get lost in this change.
Yes.
Or how do I get ahead of this change?
Okay.
Right? So I think a lot of the times people are wanting to get ahead and not get caught in this kind of changing environment. What do I do? Do I go invest in a lot of cloud technologies? Do I go in mobile? I go, do a lot of marketing push, social media, digital marketing? Is it email campaigns? So there's a lot of options, right? So you got to get really clear that how do you step back, especially it doesn't matter the size of the company, small, medium, large, of what you're trying to sell into, or you are the vendor selling to. You got to know your audience. You got to take your capability. So you got to find the right product market fit, which is very fundamental in your product marketing, is to say, I've built this capability. It's going to be appealing to my large enterprise customers, or is it for the consumer? Understand their purchasing behaviors, right?
And I think that the behavior that's changing is also that they are doing so much more research online They're finding their own information. They don't want you to be pushing information to them.
Oh, absolutely. That's changed because again, in the past, there's not a lot of information. So they looked at people to provide that information. Everything today is like a Google search away, right? So you basically sit there and kind of go, I will, as a buyer, research everything I want to research, and then I'll pick what I want to do, and then I'm coming to you for opinion.
Right.
And that's no different to how you and I are going to buy something. If you're going to buy a new TV or anything, you're going to do all your research online, look at reviews, and yes, that's kind of behaviors coming into the corporate environment as well, where enterprises are doing a lot of research. So you want to give them as much as automated content and things they want to consume at their own speed, do their own comparisons, and make their own decisions and come to the conclusion. So your influence is kind of removed, but that's actually not a bad thing, because that's how you want to feed your content now. And how do you educate people to say it will be at that point of sale that people will start thinking about, I want this solutions technology. What's out there? They will do their reviews. You have to have a lot of your content built digitally, where they can pull that information, do their own research, and come to a conclusion of where they want to go.
And so the tool that you use to actually have content available for them to read and learn, that tool has to be able to change the content very dynamically and easily communicate to all the audiences.
They have to, right? I think what's shifting is also, like I said, the buying behaviors. In the past, it used to be, I talk to 3 or 4 customers every week, and at all levels, from CIOs to architects, and really the customers are going, in the past I used to make these IT decisions in silo, now it's a business decision, so I have to come together as a group. So in the past, where there was one person, maybe an IT administrator or director for IT, buying infrastructure or any solution, today there's like a decision maker, there is a buyer in our customers itself, and then there's a blocker, and there is an influencer. All those entities going to come together in order to make that sale or purchasing decision, because there's so much impact on business. So how do you cater for these different personas, and then how do you also talk to them in their own language? Because I think that becomes, how do you personalize the whole experience? So as you kind of develop your product marketing content, what is your front facing content?
Yes.
How do you then, when people engage, nurture them digitally through multiple touches to very personalized information for you, maintain that state, and then tailor to that state, giving them the right tools so they can actually nurture themselves. That's a huge kind of shift in how traditionally people have gone to market. In the services kind of world, people kind of assume this, I'm going to buy a service, there's info, I'm going to click and done. This is changing as, again, business transformation is significant, right? Large, small, everybody is trying to go through that. Actually, for a startup, it's not a big issue because you don't have any technical debt. As a customer, you paid for. If you're large customers, they have so much of their existing product and services, doesn't matter which segment, that they have to kind of transform to the new capabilities, right? So I think that's most corporations are trying to do the balancing act. All businesses of how do I take my existing investment, how do I go explore new areas of business, how do they kind of come together, and they need help, right? So a lot of the people want to learn themselves, a lot of them need help from vendors to tell where the vision is going. So, and new technologies are always coming up. So this is kind of revolutionizing how businesses happen in the probably last couple of years or more, or definitely in decades to come. Right.
Yes.
So
I think that nowadays people, on the marketing front, product marketing, you have to provide information. It's more about a pull instead of a push.
Yeah.
And there's a self-service model, so that's much more scalable for you.
Yeah, and I think you have to identify for your personas, especially, what are the watering holes, right? So, people would want to go, pick up watering hole information, which just means where do they best read their, get their content from. Not necessarily from, vendors.com pages. It's from, hey, peer groups, maybe, LinkedIn, Tech Targets, common forums, conferences. So that's where they go for content, right? So you have to be able to, ensure that your content's kind of embedded into that. That it's not building a lot of big white papers anymore. It's building small chunk bite-sized content, reusable, that can be stitched together in a different way, and that immediately gives you opportunities to go, I got your attention this bite size, right? So I want to play around with capabilities. I think we work with your team to build these feature walkthroughs and digital content, so I'd like to learn about that. So
there's a lot of analytics behind
too. Yes. Just click on that and I'm going to get the capability and I go, that very quick decision making. We're going to work for the project I'm looking to work on. How do I go next? Can I get on and try this before I buy it? Can I download this service and play around with it? So people want to do a lot of that themselves nowadays. So I think that's the interesting shift. And I think that blend of enterprise, consumer, yes, because you start using those same kind of principles in your consumer purchase. It's not really a consumer purchase, but you apply the same methodologies into your enterprise as well.
All right, so let's shift a little bit. Let's talk about your career journey.
Sure.
You actually have 19 patents, right?
Yes, granted, I think,
Yeah, granted, and you have more applied. So you actually have been with VMware for over 6 years, but you were at Avaya for over 11 years, where you play the role of a CTO. Maybe you can take us from
my
there.
Career journey?
Yeah,
no, that's interesting.
But I asked because I think a lot of people might be interested shifting their career from being an engineer to more of a business leader. So how did you do that?
Sure, and I think it's to be honest, it's never intentional, right? So I think it's always opportunity, and when you are in a certain role, you always envision that you have a certain career path, but then you learn so much in the journey itself that your career destination starts changing. It was very similar with me. I started as a researcher in Australia, working for federal government, CSIRO, which is Commonwealth Scientific Industrial Research Organization, and I was a research scientist, staying out of school, working in there. As a research scientist, and I was writing Linux kernel code, contributed a bit to that, and then I wasn't responsible for the Wi-Fi patent, but my boss was. I was working on the Wi-Fi project.
Wow.
The Wi-Fi as you use it today was invented in Australia, and we're part of that team.
Did not know that.
That was, as you know, revolutionary.
Yes.
What we use today,
Absolutely.
you couldn't live without
That's
Wi-Fi, right? So I've been lucky enough to learn from, enough kind of people to say, hey, that was amazing. It's like, this is disruptive technology. So I spent, almost half of my career in the technology side, right? So going from research to R&D, coming to Avaya, building, a lot of at that point Avaya was shifting from, the traditional PBX, which is proprietary Unix based on my Linux experience, helped with porting that to a Linux platform. So that was, again, went from my technical strength. Very successful in migrating a lot of their platforms to open source Linux environments. Then the opportunity can evolve to say, hey, I'm not bad in communication with customers, right? So a lot of the times that early phase of transition was people who had existing systems, they were trying to shift to wiser IP or unified communication environment, and they were like, why do we need to do this transformation? Today, you cannot live without, IM or any of your, instant messaging or fast connecting collaboration tools. In the past, it was a difficult transition. So they took me from engineering and got me in front of large customers to work with them to understand that as you move, you'd get a lot of benefits, right? So that was kind of my first exposure out of engineering to be talking to customers. And again, I seem to have the gift to actually communicate with customers and convince them of making that transformation and help them in that successful transformation. I'd take those learnings and I would come back into R&D, and then hey, I've new capabilities, right? I would be discovering these are new features. I was talking to large customers, and they had this need, so I'd be feeding that requirements back into R&D. From an R&D, that immediately the leadership in the VIA took notice, and it's like, hey, he's bringing in, good type of, ideas back in. Some of the times, right, again, there was a breadth of portfolio.
Yes.
This product feature enhancement development couldn't happen in the existing release cycle. So as I was engaging with customers, there was a need for rapid response. So build new capabilities. Because of my engineering background, I put together a little team. This was not professional services. This was not R&D in between that we can build custom features outside of the release cycle in an agile way. So we were doing agile development in 2002 and 2003 with scrums. There was no governing concept like a scrum or we had our agile development because it was customer sponsored, and we'd build a capability delivered to a customer, but then we'd take it and the code will be brought back into major releases. I actually set up a little business like this for via R&D, making a few $1 million every quarter. So again, leadership went, oh, this guy's entrepreneurial.
Yes.
He can actually take R&D ideas, monetize them, and at the same time build up core product capability.
Right.
So I kind of went through a transition into product management, where it's like, oh, this is perfect product management. This is product management in the hardware world, which is very different to product management in the software world. Because in hardware world, you have to think about it as a full P&L. So I learned so much about profit and loss. How do I optimize the best hardware, get the cheapest cost of goods efficiently, negotiate on hardware, put a production line together, and the supply chain, and all of those, and then what the financial metrics look like. So it was interesting. As an R&D engineer, never knew it, right? So I kind of went through that as I kind of started building products and taking it to market, and that product management experience grew from one area of unified communications to more collaboration platforms, video, contact centers, the entire kind of VIA portfolio. Wow. At that point, they said, okay, you could become the CTO. So I was kind of nominated to become the CTO out there, talking to customers at the broad portfolio level, and then, evolving that. And when I think at that point, VMware kind of took notice and just like, hey, would you come and join us and help us? This was almost 6.5, almost 7 years ago. And VMware was kind of growing, was disrupting the market, kind of reminded me of my early days of Wi-Fi, where we disrupted the market.
And that's what you like, right? The
disruption.
Impact that worldwide, right?
And the disruption is like, hey, how do you disrupt it? How do you then scale it? Because there's two different things of 0 to 100 million, where you're out there as a business disrupting it. A different kind of skill set required for you to go from 100 mil to $1 billion. A whole different kind of scale required to go from $1 billion to 10 billion, and then more systems and things in place for 10 billion plus, right? So, and that kind of journey I've kind of learned through different aspects. Still, my core strength is my technical capabilities, so I can understand technology, but I'm able to then hold that and elevate that into a business conversation, into a C conversation. And it just comes by experience, right? I think it comes by experience. It comes by taking risk, because I think if I reflect back, in my R&D days, if I did not take the risk of going and exposing myself to a customer conversation, which could go either way, take that risk every time and, go beyond your comfort zone, right? You keep pushing yourself beyond the comfort zone, you start acquiring new skills, and those come into your comfort zone. So you go from your technical capability to talking to customers, getting the capability requirements, you get into a comfort zone there, then you evolve to actually put a little business model together, and then you evolve yourself to learn about financial modeling, to look at, what's your cash flow, what's your profitability. You're learning every time. So be inquisitive, be learning every time, and keep pushing beyond your comfort zone. And the universe is your shell, right? So you can grow as much as you want to grow.
Right. It's a land of opportunities.
Yeah.
So that's a great story, and thanks for sharing that. Are you now in charge of the whole security platform at VMware?
No, actually, in my remit, I have solutions and product marketing for cloud, security, and digital workspace, which is the entirety of our portfolio. So obviously at VMware, we've got a lot of businesses. We've grown from having just a vSphere compute virtualization, extended that concept to entire data centers with software-defined data center.
Okay.
So take that virtualization principle, apply it to network virtualization, and then storage, and fully automate it. So that's our software-defined data center.
Okay.
We took that and we landed into a cloud technology in all the hybrid world, which is how we, establish our partnership with Amazon. And we take that same platform, we extend into, AWS with what we call, VMware Cloud on AWS.
Okay.
Not just Amazon, but we also have 4,000 plus cloud provider partners, be it IBM SoftLayer, be it, Rackspace,
Google.
So the big cloud providers, we have different partnerships. So, Microsoft Azure and Google. We don't have what I'd call this infrastructure partnership.
Okay.
So in this instance, we're taking our software-defined infrastructure, data center, compute, network storage, and management, and putting that onto these public clouds, right? So we have desktop as a service, which is the other part of our portfolio that we work with Azure on.
Okay.
We have a lot of our cloud-native development, modern new app, which is Kubernetes based, which we work with the Google teams on. So yeah, it's kind of an interesting cloud portfolio, which has evolved from customers going, hey, I've invested so much in my private cloud or my data center. How do I get the maximum benefit from that in typical use cases? I want to scale on demand. I just want a disaster recovery for a short period of time when there is disaster. I don't want to build a second site. Can I leverage public cloud? So one notion of cloud buyers are going from, I've worked on my on-prem, I'd like to get scale, a disaster, migrate to the cloud for different capabilities. So that's very much of a traditional IT. I've got a second buyer who don't care about the infrastructure part in the cloud, right? So they kind of go, I want to just buy applications in the cloud. I want to. Nobody's using today building their own HR applications or expense applications. They use like the Workdays, or CRM. They use Salesforce that runs in the cloud somewhere, right? So they all have these applications running multiple clouds. So not by choice, they have a lot of stuff running in cloud. So a different buyer is really kind of saying, I don't care about the infrastructure part. I care about my applications which run on multiple clouds, but I need a management layer to manage it. How do I in this multi-cloud world, how do I manage this? Right. And the third kind of bucket in the cloud area is really modern applications. Everybody's building cloud native, container-based apps. They also go spend in the cloud, but their driver is how do I build, manage, and consume next generation apps. So our kind of capability solution portfolio takes care of traditional IT, who's trying to hybrid, cloud architects who are not worried about the infrastructure, just want to buy the best, cloud capability, and modern app dev folks. Like that, all three coming together is kind of our cloud pillar that my team is driving solutions for. On the network security side, we are really at RSA a couple of weeks ago, my team did a big security launch with, Pat, our CEO, is really saying it's a very fragmented market, right? So most of the CISOs, if you are CIOs, when you talk to them, they got 2 or 3 products for vendors for, say, server, all the infrastructure needs. For security, on average, they've got like 70 products from 30 different vendors.
And they're still not feeling secure.
Still not feeling secure. That's the problem, right?
They're still nervous.
Yeah, so we believe that really from a security point of view that if a lot of the secure capabilities are built into the infrastructure itself, be it in the data center, on the end user side, in the device, then you don't need to, right? So I think what we shared at RSA was in the pyramid of investment, where almost 80% of VC startups, and spend is on really chasing threats. Who's attacking, not on how to defend yourself. Our approach is to actually flip that and say, if you know your crown jewels, you know how to defend it, then you are not exposed to that many things. So amount of attacks you're chasing is not in millions, just 100, right? So that's our overall approach. We're kind of launched it there. So my team kind of worked across. Every time there's a solution that cuts across multiple businesses at VMware, my team takes lead because it has to work across our networking business, our compute business, our end user computing business, et cetera, et cetera. So that's the second pillar of networking security. And the third being digital workspace is really about how do you get, optimization from your workspace, because there's really three silos. People are used to having either an Apple or Microsoft or a Google environment from their device, their OS, their own walled garden app store, and their own cloud, right? So our solutions then cut across heterogeneously to say it doesn't matter what your choice is. Same person can have a mixed amount of devices, be it Android or iOS or Chrome OS or Mac OS or Microsoft Windows. We'll give you ubiquitous workspace access, single sign-on, identity, productivity tools across them.
Wow.
So that's the third pillar, and my team's kind of running across all three, driving that out to the market.
That's fantastic, and so much information, technical information you just share with us too. So.
No, I think this is the next generation of what's happening in the marketplace, right?
So the VMware is the well-known brand name, and
it is, but also well-known brand name of the of today, of the future, right? I think what keeps me excited at VMware, if you've heard me so far, is my passion for technology and next generation of disruptive things coming, and I'm super excited that VMware's never a dull moment. There's always exciting stuff coming, and the future is like really bright.
Yes.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, Muneeb, for being here. I mean, I've learned a lot hearing you talk, and appreciate you sharing with us on the product marketing front some of the best practices that you're doing at VMware.
Thanks, Jessica. It's been a pleasure to be on the show.
Thanks for watching. Take It Up with Jessica Lee.